Hi, hello everyone. My name is Hadil, and today we're going to talk about windows and workspaces in Blender. I always talk about how my workspace is quite different than the default because I changed it and I saved the default, but I never really talked about how you can do that yourself. And I also want to talk a bit about the workspaces that are created over here and how I personally use them, because all of these workspaces are already created for what Blender developers think is the best layout for that workspace. So if you go to sculpting, which is what we used in one of the previous videos, which is one that I frequented when I created the sculpt video. And what I like about it is that it's already created or set up for that function. So if I add a mesh, and then if I go to sculpting, what you're gonna see is that it's already set up. So it's in sculpt mode, the brushes are selected, they're available over here. The settings for each brush is available over here. And if I go to modeling, then I'll find that it's already in edit mode with all of the editing tools on the left. And you'll find the same thing for all of these workspaces. You can also delete any of the workspaces that you have on top by right-clicking, deleting it, or you can add another workspace or duplicate a workspace and adjust it however you like. So if you like the modeling workspace, but you want to make some changes to it, then you can just duplicate it and change its name, add whatever windows you want to add to it, change the layout of it, and you'll be set. Whatever workspace you create for that file is going to be that for every time you open a file. So if I change all of these and I delete, let's say, geometry nodes from here, and then I delete scripting as well, I delete animation, and then I save this file, close it, and I send it to someone. When they open it, they'll find it this way. So whatever layout you save for that project, it's going to be saved as the default for that project until you change things. Let's try it out. So if I save this right now with all of these deleted workspaces and then close it and reopen it, we get the last state that we saved this file on. Okay, let's move on to customizing your windows and workspaces. For me, the only customized workspace is the shading workspace, because I use vertical video a lot and that's what I want to see whenever I render. So even if I have a square preview, I don't mind the square inside of this vertical, but I don't want a very small vertical inside of a square render. And I don't like when the shading section is over here, like the default. So I just have this as solid view, so I can select things in it. And then I have my shader nodes down here. And last but not least, I have my image editor over here. In case I have a palette to choose from a bunch of colors, or if I have my background image over here and I sometimes grab colors from it, especially for my book reviews post for 2024. And I just open whatever textures over here. If I click on any of the image textures over here, I can just see it previewed over here. So these are my essentials when it comes to shading. And so I found that this workspace works best for me, and I just saved it as the default. So if you want to save whatever you created as the default whenever you open Blender, you can just change whatever changes you need in the settings over here in the layouts, and then go to File, Defaults, Save Startup File. And this will make your current state of file the default for whenever you open a new Blender file. I already have it start with no cube in the center, and I have some of the settings changed over here. So I always have my camera at 1080 by 1920 because that's what I use the majority of the time. I don't really change any of the other ones, but I have color management in render view as filmic with medium high contrast by default. And I have my render maximum samples at 500, my render engine as cycles, and my device as GPU. So all of these I saved as default. If there is one thing that I do every time I open Blender and I don't have it as default, is open a window for the assets browser because I don't use the assets browser every time. I don't have it as default, so I just go to the layout and then I hover over here in this corner and I just drag, not this way. If this happens, I don't release my mouse, I just hit escape. I'm going to show you the first way and then I'm going to show you an easier way to do it. So I just drag from the corner if it allows me. And then if I want to close it, I can just do click and don't release the mouse until you get this. And then if I put the arrow over here, that means I want to close this. If I put it over here, I want to close this and leave this open. So I'm just going to close it and then reopen it again if it allows me. And then I change this to the asset browser. Then I can just drag and drop whatever I have onto my object. Go back to the layout. Let's do it a different way this time because this hover and drag is a hassle for me. I just like to hover over whatever I want to close, right click, close area, and voila. If I want to split this into two areas, I can just hover over this area and then add a vertical split. Decide where you want to stop and then change it to whatever window you want. I use this mostly with book reviews. I think this right click is much better because the other approach never really works well for me. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.